let's try example 8.3. It says, use the data on page A5 to find a 90% confidence interval for the average amount of exercise college females get each week. So you're going to need to flip back to your data on A5, and I think I bookmarked it. There it is. We want it for the females. Remember, here's the males up here. Here's our females. We want exercise, and what's real nice here is they've already broken it up for me. I know my sample size is 47. Here's my mean, so that would be the average hours of exercise a female gets per week, according to this study. And there's my standard deviation. So I'm going to need all three of those values. So I would probably come over and write that down. So I'm coming over here on my scrap piece of paper. I know I want to be 90% confident, and I wrote down that information that it gave me. I do not have to find it. All right, since I want to be 90% confident, we already talked about this. If your sample size is 30 or more, how you find that. Okay, remember that's your 10% not, and then you divide that 10% by 2. Okay, and so you're going to come over here to your t-table, and we already talked about this in another video, but if I want to be 90% confident and my sample size is 30 or more, that's my percentage point value I'm going to use. So I'm going to use 1.645. So I'm going to come over here, and it's going to be 1.645. I'm going to multiply that times my standard deviation. Do not round this off. And then the square root of my sample size, which is 47. Okay? And then I will crunch that into my lovely calculator. And when I do that, I should get, and we're not going to round this off yet either, at least leave me 4 decimal places right there. That is how confident I am. So you need to be able to write a sentence. What did you just find? And I don't know that I'm going to take time to write this all down on the video, but I do see that I have it written over here already in my book. So this is what it should say. By the way, this is what you don't necessarily have to show this because I already taught you how to find that on another video. But you should definitely have this information on a test to show me your work. And it's imperative that you have this sentence. So the average amount of exercise females get each week is 2.74 hours. I got that. That's my mean. We are 90% confident to within, and you could say here, give or take, plus or minus, 0.46. That's what we just found right there. I did round that off just a little bit. Hours per week. Okay, so you have to be able to write a whole sentence of what we're looking at. Don't leave out the fact that we're talking about females and we're talking about exercising a week. We're not talking about a day, all right? And so those are all imperative numbers right there. All right, so let's try 8.4 as well while we're on here. It says use the data on page A6 to find a 95% confidence interval for the average weight of freshman males. Okay, so you're going to have to come back here to A6, and we're talking about the weight of freshman males. So I'm going to come back here. You're going to look that up, all right? And you know you're going to need, let me write this down here. You're going to need to know on 8.4, this is example 8.4, you need to know the sample size. You have to find the mean, and you have to find the standard deviation. So if I were you, I would pause the video real quick, and let me come back here to 8.6. And we're talking about freshman males' weight. So I'm coming back here to A6. This is freshman males. Notice the sample size is 6. It tells me that. You're going to have to put in these weights right in here. It's one variable. You're going to have to put those in to find your mean and your sample size. So pause your video or do what you got to do, but find that real quick. Try it on your own. And then I'm going to write that down. You should have found, if you did it right, that there's the average weight in pounds of a freshman male. And then here was my standard deviation right there. Okay, I want to be 95% confident. Now, be careful here because my sample size is small. Okay, so let's practice finding this because I have a small sample size. Remember, this one was 30 or more, so I could use the values at the bottom of the table. This one is small. So when I try to find this t alpha over 2, and then this would be n minus 1, I got to be careful there. I want to be 95% confident. That means I'm 5% not. Okay, so then you're going to take alpha over 2, divide that by 2, which is what? and I should have had this all written down. And I wanted to be 95% confident, but that's 0.025. So I'm going to look at this column. So this right here is 0.025. It's n minus 1, so 6 minus 1, or 5. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go to my 5 degrees of freedom. It was 0.05, so it should be 2.015. 2.015. That will be the value I find to find my error bound. So it's going to be 2.015. I multiply that times my standard deviation. I divide it by the square root of n. Crunch that in my lovely calculator, and what do you get?